Okay, that was eventful. That was very eventful. Give me 1 second here, guys. Oh, shit. Too much light. Too much. Okay, we got that. Probably should have sorted this out before I got on. There we go. All right, that'll work. All righty. So I didn't put anything together for the game or anything like that. What I will do is I'm going to look at everything here on the box and go over it and everything like that. I will say that was a very, very eventful game. I remember when, and it was actually one of my most inadvertently most viewed and most successful and probably the most controversial video I've ever made. When the Aho and Fox collision happened, I actually didn't see it when it happened the first time because I had a really long day at work. I came home, I ate, I crushed a Crown and Coke, and I passed the fuck out 7 minutes into the first or something like that. I was not awake for that entire game. And I go and I look at it the next day and I did an actual honest to God reaction to it. And I was like, why are people mad about this? And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Canes fan. And funny enough, there was this douchebag that came in there and said one of the most conceited, bitch-made comments that I've ever seen. And I actually just shared where I took a screenshot of it when it happened. Definitely not the type of person who would actually say anything like that in person because he knows what would happen to him. And probably never been in a fist fight in his whole life. He sounds like a privileged little cuck. But what happened with Timo Meyer tonight, however you slice it, was far more intentional looking than the thing with Aho and Fox. But it was something to me that a New Jersey Devils fan came in there and defended the New York Rangers all because he hated the Carolina Hurricanes and Sebastian Aho. And I know that entirely stemmed from the fact that we've habitually killed them in the playoffs over the course of pretty much our entire existence. I don't think that they've ever beaten us in the playoffs as the Canes, if I remember correctly. They beat the Whalers, I'm pretty sure, but they never beat the Canes. But as far as the Meyer thing goes, let me go through some of the comments here. Coconut Kyle Hallways, as always, is scum. Yeah, fuck that guy. I'm glad the team kept their cool when he came out of the box. I mean, I'm surprised Dima didn't go over there and like actually throw, because if Dima wanted to fight, I know he normally doesn't, but if he wanted to, like, he could fuck somebody up. Devil's Twitter is truly something else. Yeah, I don't see, there's no way you slice that hit up as clean because he, or either one of those hits. Okay, so in regards to the Meyer and Natchez one, the knee on knee part is one thing, but the knee on knee part is one thing, but Meyer led with the elbow, so he intended to make some sort of like not legal contact to some degree, I think. And Timo Meyer's a physical player, everybody knows that, but like he had a little bit of a chicken wing going when he went at Natchez to begin with, and then the knee on knee contact happened with that. At a minimum, it was reckless, but yeah. Now Eric Hall, on the other hand, he's fucking dirty. Everyone knows that. And the hit that he laid on Orlov, that was beyond questionable, and how that would. I would have rather them let the thing that Timo Meyer did go and called what happened with Orlov. With the Timo Meyer hit, I can understand why there would be some sort of gray area. The Eric Holla one on Orlov, no, that 110%, that should have been a major for head contact. That should have been that. That was significantly worse than the head contact they called earlier between Eric Robinson and Curtis Lazar. And Curtis Lazar is kind of a bitch anyway. Or not Curtis Lazar, excuse me, Paul Cotter. Like, I just don't understand the rationale behind that. That's one of the things I don't understand about the officiating in this league. So there's that. Lackey, what's up, dude? Devil's Twitter is truly something else. Yeah, it is. Coconut Kyle, yay or nay that Meyer got the boot? Yay. Heavily yay. Like, I don't know if there will be any supplemental discipline. I don't know, like, when the league looks at it, what's going to happen, but I 120%, like, I was like, if he does not get a misconduct, we might actually see the Carolina Hurricanes go out there and police something themselves for once. Now, what I didn't understand, what I heard on the broadcast, but what I didn't understand initially, the first 2 minutes of that was 4-on-4 because KK also got 2 minutes, and it sounded like that he was just given 2 for instigating. Which I was kind of like, that's weird. But let me go back and look at the penalty summary here. Okay, so Jesperi Kotkaniemi roughing against Timo Meyer, So he got a roughing penalty. So I guess he went over there and stuck up for him. So yeah, that makes sense. Orlov coming back to have a go at Holla. That was pretty cool. Yeah, like I said, Dima's a physical player. He's not much for the confrontational stuff, but when he needs to, he will do it. BTS says, I don't know what to say to my Devils friend about Holla not being dirty. Yeah, I've got my fair share of Devils friends too. That's why I'm not talking to him right now. I'm going to let it cool off. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a very productive conversation. That's rough. No, we lost to New Jersey before in the 2001 run. That's right. I forgot about that. Forgive me. I was only 9 years old, something like that. No, I would have been 10. Either way, long fucking time ago for me. Candy Ford, what's up? Devils blaming refs and Nate just being an actor. That was not acting, dude. Like he might have only had a stinger. Now, here's one thing that we have to keep in mind with what happened with Nate just there. Don't be surprised if he. I'm not. I swear to God, I'm not wanting this. Obviously, I'll get to that, Custo. By the way, all you new guys in here, welcome. I appreciate all the new following that I've gotten lately. But one of the things with that, one thing we do have to be concerned with, don't be surprised if, Nate just looked all right when he came back out and he skated fine. Don't be surprised if he's day-to-day after this or something like that, because a lot of times it's like you take the shin pad off and the next thing you know, you're like, oh, shit. And, he might have some really bad bruising or some really bad swelling or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if he can't play the next game because he's day-to-day, or if he misses practice or has a maintenance day, because there's a lot of times once the adrenaline wears off, and so a lot of times you'll have what's known as a stinger. Sometimes you'll block a shot or you'll have a weird collision and it'll feel like that your entire body got, hit in the funny bone or something like that, and it hurts like hell. And then it'll stop for a little while because the adrenaline kicks in, you go back to playing, you're fine. And then when the game's over, you're like, oh shit. And then the pain sets in. Next thing you know, you're having things swelling that weren't swelling before you got off the ice. And then you wake up the next morning and you're like 20 times more sore than you were before. So don't be surprised if he's day-to-day or if he's missing practice or something like that for a couple of days. So I don't think it's serious, considering he went back out and played and he didn't look too terribly different from before it happened. But no, there's no way in hell that was an acting job. That was not an acting job at all. He's probably got a pretty good contusion on his leg after something like that. He's definitely going to be hurting tomorrow. Frank, don't start that stuff, dude. KK got 2 for roughing. Yeah, it's like I thought I heard them announce instigating, and I'm like, wait, if they gave him an instigator, then where's the 5 for fighting and the misconduct that would go with it? That's where I was kind of, yeah, we lost to New Jersey in the first round and 0-1, beat the, yeah. High schooler. Okay, you were in high school then? Yeah, I was 10. Custo Hockey says, yikes, Sportsnet has this, but the ref that called the major unfortunately has ties to Carolina. Family has season tickets. That's obviously going to be a talking point given the controversial call. Here's where I have to be fair about it. If I were on the other end of that, I would be asking questions about that too. Like if that happened in New Jersey and it was a ref that had ties to New Jersey and family had season tickets there, I would have some questions too. That doesn't, correlation and causation, but I can understand why that would piss them off. It would make me mad. It would make me really mad, especially after some of the things that it looks like it's like the Hurricanes, they get the short end of the stick on a lot of stuff challenge-wise, and then not to mention the ongoing conflict between, the 100 years war is going on between Rod and the officials to this day. BTS 600, dude, congrats. Thank you. I appreciate it. Donk 6975. I don't think I've seen you in here before, but welcome. So Andre have the UFC misses wide open nets now. Yeah, especially after and then he clanged that one off the post late in the game, and I was like, damn it, dude, Svech needed that one. He really did. I think the floodgates would have actually opened for him. Custo Hockey also says, my friend in the league said there is a conference call scheduled tomorrow with the crew and the league office. Might just be to tell them how to respond to what is a tough situation. Happy holidays. Happy holidays to you too, my friend. That is weird to me that, why did that come out so quickly? Alkane says, do we start Tokarski versus Columbus? He's been good in every start. Yes, I don't think that's a bad idea at all. That being said, I think I would rather have him start against Florida, because at this point, Columbus is behind us in the standings. I understand that they're a Metropolitan Division team, and we got some demons to get out of our system from where they beat us in their building last time when Kochekov got hurt and everything. I would rather have Tokarski play against Florida. Reason being is because Tokarski is a very calm goalie. He sees the ice in front of him very well. He sees through screens very well. He doesn't overcommit. A lot of the problems that Pyotr Kochekov has, Dustin Tokarski is completely polar opposite on. And right now he's playing a little bit steadier of a game. So having someone like him in net to play against a team like Florida might be a little bit more reassuring for the guys in front of him. Whereas Kochekov, I think, is good enough to handle Columbus. So I personally would rather put Kochekov in Columbus and then let Tokarski have Florida, because Florida's a harder matchup. And then not to mention, if you go into Florida and you manage to win that game, that helps out with some of the loss of confidence the Canes clearly experienced after that back-to-back with Florida. So honestly, beating Florida is significantly more important than beating Columbus. And right now, Tokarski looks like the goalie that they need to ride in situations like that. That's just my perspective on it. I don't know if they're going to go out and get one or if they're really just going to try and hold up until Freddie's back. But the problem is Freddie being back is always when Freddie comes back, Freddie is always on borrowed time. It's only a matter of time till he gets hurt again, unfortunately. So that's the only thing. BTS says Sylvester was just unlucky there. IMO could have tried a little bit harder, but still. One thing I'm going to get to when I get through the rest of the comments and everything like that, y'all remember how much I was begging for the 37-82-88 line to come back, and I have absolutely loved most of the things I've seen out of it the last few games, and I felt like tonight they really, really were building chemistry, and they were playing well in both ends of the ice. They were defending well in their own zone. They were gapping up really quick in the neutral zone to deny transition, and I liked a lot of what they were doing in the offensive zone. They were doing some crash and bang offense, but at the same time, they were also generating some clean looks in front of the net. So I'm really digging that line, and it has the potential to be our best and most consistent line like it was for stretches during the 22-23 season. So I absolutely would love to see that. If Svechnikov stays on that line, or all the lines in general, if they just stay together, you will see chemistry develop with them. We saw a lot of it with Aho, Jarvis, and Roslovic tonight. Leave that alone. Leave all this stuff alone. It's fine. When Jack Drury comes back, he doesn't need to go to the top of the depth chart. And one of the things I'm going to talk about here in a little bit, because I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff tonight because it's going to be my last show for a while since I'm going on vacation on Monday. I'll be on Caniac Sessions tomorrow night. But one of the other things to consider is like Tyson Yost has played really well, and Tyson Yost and Jackson Blake combined have a lower cap hit than Jack Drury does. I'm not convinced that Jack Drury is so valuable that we need to keep him when we could put Tyson Yost there, free up that salary, and go get something we need. Because one thing we have an abundance of is options for a fourth-line center. Drury, Yost, Suzuki, there's plenty of options there. If worse comes to worse, you could probably call up Felix Ungerstorm to play that role if you absolutely had to. But it's one place where I feel like we have a little bit of flexibility in terms of who we can put in that spot. Let's see, Coconut Kyle, what kind of story is that for Sportsnet to run so quickly after the game? That's weird to me. It's almost like somebody had that loaded and was waiting on it. If you guys want to, whichever reporter published it, put his name in the comments, because I have a feeling I know who it was. Probably the same one who wrote that really, really stupid post that paraphrased the shit out of something that Steph Nason said and didn't account for what he actually said. So keep that in mind. There's a reason I don't like a lot of sports reporters. Ryan Hinkle, I like him because I feel like, the title reflects what he actually writes about. He doesn't do clickbaity things. Like, I know what I'm going to read about when I go to click on a Ryan Hinkle article. Walt reports on the team, leaves it at that. Corey reports on the team, leaves it at that. So shout out to those guys. They do the job correctly. I've never seen them that I noticed, because I think I would have noticed. I never saw them post anything clickbaity or hit piece like or anything like that. Rod got every challenge right his first year, and the refs didn't like it, so now they're making it harder on him now. I don't know about all that, but, I mean, I didn't even think about that. Custo says, sorry, Sportsnet doesn't have it. I cover games in Toronto and Winnipeg as a crew member, and I'm privy to the group text with some of the editors, and I saw that one. Oh. Ooh. That's something. I guess we'll see it in the morning. I don't know why I put now twice. It's no big deal, dude. I mess stuff like that up all the time. Donk says, Cooch, high ceiling, low floor, gets in his own head after he lets one in. Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why he lets in like soft goals, but has like this crazy high like ability at saving high danger chances and everything like that. That's the weird thing with Kochetkov. That's one of the weird gaps in his game. I'm not the best at analyzing goalies, but it's like if it's 2 feet in front of the net and he has to do some highlight reel stuff, he's fine. If it's from the point with a little bit of traffic in front of him, he it's so weird. The soft goals he lets in, but everything else is like highlight reel saves. I don't understand it with him. Coconut Kyle, Custo Hockey, that's okay. A bit different. Hope that call has some convo on that hit from Holla. Yeah, that would be another thing. Custo, do you like Corey Lavalette? Yeah, he's good. I really like Ryan Hankel. Ryan Hankel, I think, is my favorite one. When Michael Smith was here, I liked him. Sarah Sivian, no, I don't like her at all. She inserts literally politics and her personal agenda into like everything that I ever saw her write. So when she was the Canes beat reporter, I read like the first 3 or 4 articles and I ignored it. And then not to mention that loaded question that she threw at Tony DeAngelo when he signed in Carolina the first time. I don't have anything to do with her. She can go do whatever the fuck she wants. But like, as far as like me ever reading anything that she has to write, I would rather read the ingredients on like toothpaste or something than read anything that Sarah Sivian writes, because at least I would learn what is in toothpaste at that point, which might be valuable information. Whatever she has to say, no. Yeah, we'll see if the story ever comes out. For what it's worth, Canes fan, we've also been holding something with major Carolina trade for a few weeks. Don't tell me anything. Please don't tell me anything. I that would be cool, but I don't want to know. I had a somewhat of a source one time tell me something that was supposed to happen this past offseason. I'm not comparing you to this person at all. And he had no reason to lie to me. And basically, Carolina had plans to trade for a certain defenseman and sign another defenseman from last season. And that didn't happen. And they went in a completely different direction with what the third pair was going to be, because I had on pretty good accord what the third pair was actually going to be, and I was actually super excited about it, but I kept it to myself just because I didn't want to be the guy like putting that stuff out there. Michael Hammond says Tukey at the moment seems to be doing the job. Yeah, Tokarski, I think Kochetkov can learn a lot from Tokarski because Tokarski is so calm in the net. I forget who it was. I want to say it was the analyst guy for the Minnesota Wild. He was describing the difference between, I want to say it was Darcy Kemper and Alex Stalock or something like that. I don't exactly remember who. And he described one as a battler, one as a technician. Kochetkov is a battler. Tokarski is a technician. Tokarski is one of those guys, he's very calm when he looks through traffic and everything. He doesn't really care about clearing guys from out in front of the net because he has that really good vision to see the shot coming. He squares himself to the shooter really well, has really good rebound control, all that type of stuff. Kochetkov, part of the reason I think he makes those crazy high danger saves is because he's super athletic. But when he's in a situation where he has to kind of, think about something, where he has to like, okay, I have to square myself to this shot that's coming from all the way at the point, or I have to square myself to this wide angle shot and make sure that it's a shot, not a pass, all those types of situations, then a little bit different story. So I think that he could learn a lot from him, but right now I think Tokarski getting more starts is not a bad idea at all. Let's just say it involves a certain Western Conference team and a former second overall pick. Oh boy. I reckon, I think Kyle, I think he would be talking about Svech there. We'll wait and see. If you get a good enough haul for Svechnikov, if it is that guy, if you get a good enough haul for Svechnikov, sure, maybe, but I'm not ready to give up on him yet, because I wrote a thing on X earlier that pissed some people off, that some of them clearly didn't read through the whole thing because it was kind of long. But I also don't be one of those guys. I don't like being one of those guys who just throws out 3 sentences and be like, oh, this is what I think. I like to try and elaborate on my thoughts in detail, even if I don't always get my point across. And there was some moron in there that said he's a real estate agent. I'm going to recommend you don't try to buy a house with this guy's like business, because you'll probably end up in a 1-bedroom shack and you'll probably pay $500,000 for it with 70% interest on the fucking mortgage. But my criticisms of Rod today were not saying to fire him. That's not what I said. I know that's what a lot of people want, but there's 3 things wrong with that. One, he's the franchise hero, and you don't want to part on those types of terms. I'll get to that, Custo. One, you don't want to part with him in mid-season in those types of terms. Two, he's got Carolina this far. He deserves to probably see it through to the end. And three, who are you going to replace him with? I mean, of course, they're going to talk about Carl from, or what's his name? The guy who's coaching the U.S. The junior team in the World Junior Championship right now, David Carl, I believe his name is. And, I don't know a whole hell of a lot about him. I would have to do a whole lot of research, but, some people were talking about maybe replacing him with someone like him. If you have a viable replacement lined up and you know that it's not going to work with Rod anymore, that's a different story. But I don't think we're there yet, and I think we're very far from that, actually. What I was saying more than anything is what Rod does, what he institutes as a coach, works in 2/3 of the ice. But this team is like, it's like watching a controlled demolition in the offensive zone sometimes. You know that they're trying to do the right thing, but they're still ultimately making something blow up. That's what it looks like to me. It's absolutely excruciating to watch. And then there's times where it works out really well, like it did, most of the game tonight once they, got the floodgates to open and everything. But I never said anything about firing Rod. I didn't say anything about that in that post at all. All I was saying was he's got to make some adjustments and adapt to the modern game. He's got to understand, and I'm sure that he does. He's still figuring stuff out because this is a relatively new roster. There's been a decent amount of turnover, and a lot of people say, well, it's not as good of a team as last year. Okay, sure. It's a transition year, a retool year, whatever you're going to call it. Yeah, sure. But if you want to attract big name free agents, and if you potentially want to get them to take a little bit of a pay cut, you got to make a decent run in the playoffs. You got to show guys like that would potentially come to a market like this, hey, we want you here and we're going to win. If, keyword if, it's not going to happen, but if Mikko Rantanen hits free agency, do you want to bring him in for potentially less than $10 million, get to the conference finals and win a game? And then you potentially bring someone like Mikko Rantanen in for Aho-ish money. So that's something to be considered with that. But yeah, that was my whole thing with it. People were thinking that I wanted Rod fired, and that's not what I wanted. The reason I'm putting a little bit more of it on Rod than on the players right now is, one, they've been in the line blender a whole bunch, but now it looks like they're acclimating to being in these lines together. And tonight it really showed that acclimation is working. They're all finding chemistry together. The bottom 6 looks particularly good now, I think. They're doing their job. So the other thing about it is that now the top 6 guys, now that they're having consistent line mates, Aho and Jarvis generated really, really good chances shorthanded tonight. And that was another thing I made another post about, was if you're generating more quality chances off the rush shorthanded than you are 5-on-5, something is being done wrong systematically as far as how the team is executing things. That is on Rod. We know how talented the players are, but it's on him to, he's got all the ingredients. He's the one who's got to cook. But he's putting stuff in the pot in the wrong order. But I probably shouldn't reference cookware, because then he'll pull the blender back out and then we're in deep shit. So I'm just going to stop talking about anything appliance or kitchen related in that regard, because I don't want to accidentally manifest that. So that's what I think in regards to that. Let's get to some more of the comments here. Yeah, I'd rather keep Svetch, Kyle. You're right. Maybe Svetch for Ville Husso. I mean, I'm only half kidding at this point. No, I wouldn't want Husso. If we go get a goalie, Melka has been someone I've been wanting. Oh, no. He's here. They won't give up Demko, Kyle, I don't think. We better not. He's obviously going through something right now. He'll come back. Having consistent line mates and not putting him with Aho will help. Aho and Svetch being together on the power play is totally fine. Aho and Svetch being out there, game on the line, last minute goalie pulled, we need a goal together, is fine. Consistently playing together 5-on-5 for 14, 15 minutes a night, no, that's what needs to stop. Aho is much better with Natchez and KK. Or I'm sorry, Svetch is much better with Natchez and KK. So leave that line together, let that top line figure each other out a little bit more, and I think we'll see a lot more games like what we saw tonight. Custo says, just keep in mind, Van had 3 scouts following Carolina here today in New Jersey yesterday, and 1 lives in Raleigh, so sees Svetch a ton. All righty, thank you for that information. Pedersen. I personally would rather get JT Miller. I'll go into that here in a little bit. BTS says there's so many times there were big players we were going to sign and it never happened. That can't be the case this offseason. We got money to spend, and if we don't spend it, we're in deep shit. Even if we just retain some of the same guys, like I think Rosovic's going to get priced out. Eric Robinson, I'm pretty much convinced that he is staying. I'm very thoroughly convinced that Eric Robinson will stay. I think, especially with Jesper Foss probably not coming back, I could definitely see Eric Robinson staying. I really can. And I hope Jesper Foss is doing good. I hope he can play again, but like whatever is in the best interest of his health is what I'm hoping that he does, because I really like the guy. He's always going to be a legend for that Game 5 overtime goal against the Devils. I was there. That was the first playoff game I ever went to. I can only hope that, he makes the right decision. But if he's healthy enough to come back and can, that would be great. But I definitely see Eric Robinson finding a home in this system. He's been a great fit, and he's exceeded all expectations. Mark Piratano, this is one of my best friends in the whole world. Everybody, please forgive him for being a Caps fan. He's really cool. This guy's one of my best friends in the whole world. We played together a lot. One of these days we'll have to skate again, Mark. Even if I got to come to Italy to do it, I'll pack up the gear and I'll be there. I might just have to borrow one of your sticks. Then again, you're a lefty. That won't work. Coconut Kyle says Demko maybe still no. I don't think they'd give him up. I really don't. You have the right idea normally, BTS, but not to him. No Caps. Yeah, I forgot to change the little settings on my phone the other day. That's why the Canes lost, because I kept accidentally typing capital letters. Don't think Pedersen, but they looked at Tim Willander and JT Miller. JT Miller would be my choice, because we need one of those big power forward physical presence types, and him as a second line center would be excellent. If we found a way to have him and KK, and we could bump KK down into that bottom six role, like I think he would really flourish there. But I was actually happy with how he played tonight. I know he had that one bad turnover, but trying to get that pass that Burns sent him on the backhand, because Burns kind of fucked up there because he had a couple of other options. I don't think he realized it at that moment. Otherwise, he wouldn't have made the pass that he did. And, KK just got put in a fucked up spot there. So I don't put all of that on him. But good news is the team recovered from it, went on to win. Another guy I think Carolina likes a lot is Garland. I've been saying that for years. I remember years ago, Connor Garland, like even when he was still with the Coyotes, I remember telling people, I'm like, Connor Garland, I know he's a little on the smaller side, but he's kind of like Jarvis. Like size does not affect how he plays. Like he plays like a lot bigger than he is. He's a ton of speed. He's very gritty. I think Connor Garland would be a good fit here as well. So like I can definitely see 2039 7th rounder for Quinn Hughes. That's too much for Quinn Hughes. Yeah, I said it. All right, so let's see. What other topics did I have here that I wanted to discuss? Give me 1 second, please, boys. All righty. Where'd it go? Actually, I think, okay, so yeah, we're actually going to talk about the actual game itself now. We'll get this one more comment. I wish KK would play as big as he is. It seems he doesn't know he's a big body. He kind of played like it tonight. He had that physical edge tonight. Like one of the things that kind of subtly turned the tide of this game was when he dropped Luke Hughes behind the net. And it wasn't even like he didn't even like full on truck him. He just went in there and laid the body on him enough to send a message like, hey, take a seat. So if KK plays with that physicality, like we saw him lay Cal Clutterbuck out in the playoffs, which I was like, okay, that can be a turning point for the kid. I'm not ready to give up on him. I'm really not. I don't think he's going to be a 2C, but like if we had someone on the depth chart between him and Aho and then Stahl's the fourth guy, we are good to go. Like we are set, like down the middle. We would be great. KK would flourish in that role. If you have him long-term with someone like, let's say you do bring in another second line center. If you have him with, say, Robinson and Blake, that could be a really, really solid third line. And then you bump Carrier, Stahl, and Martinook down to the fourth, even though they would be pulling some really heavy assignments, especially if Carolina's trying to protect the lead. All right, so first things first that I noticed with this game right out of the gate. Let me consult my notes here. One of the first things that I noticed right out of the gate, Carolina started this game with significantly more. I know that they scored first last night, but they started this game with significantly more jump than what they had last night. Much, much better, in my opinion. I felt a lot better about this game from the outset. even though they had some hiccups here and there, I felt like that the effort level was there pretty much this entire game. It was a complete 60-minute effort. Everybody pulled their weight tonight. There were some issues here and there with some things, but it wasn't like when I went and saw them play in DC and I'm sitting there going, I'm like, are you guys even trying to win this game? Because it really felt like that. It felt just off. Tonight, it didn't feel that way at all. Last night, it felt like that for most of the game, but not all of it tonight. I didn't see any of that at all, and I'm not just saying that because they won. So the first goal here was scored by Paul Cotter. That was on that really bad turnover that Jesperi Kokaniemi had. Dmitry Orlov later would actually answer on what was a really good cycling play, and they did a really good job making sure that they retained the zone and everything like that. One thing I want to do in the future is on a sequence like that, I want to do a video breakdown of how Carolina reloads at the blue line. I wish they would do it a little bit differently and not place such an emphasis on the zone exit part, but maybe trying to retain the zone a little bit lower, like doing it a little bit closer to the top of the circles as opposed to having one forward seemingly always up at the middle of the blue line to allow the defenseman to pinch. I think that they could do it just a little bit differently. I mean, that's much easier said than done, but I think that would help generate more shots like right there in the home plate area, the high danger part of the ice. I think that would be a really good idea. And then on that play, Dmitry Orlov scored his fourth of the season from Sean Walker and Seth Jarvis. That was an excellent shift, that entire thing. That was both in the second period and the third period. Andre Palat scored pretty early on in the period, but from Jesper Bratt and Dougie Hamilton. Sebastian Aho answered back really quick, though, thanks to a really good passing play by Jack Roslovic involved, again, scoring off the rush. Power play goal, Jackson Blake scored on the abbreviated major to Timo Meyer after that whole incident. Really good to see Blake get back on the board. I feel like the kid's been playing really hard and just hadn't got rewarded for it. By extension, Jesperi Kokaniemi gets another assist. And what I really liked about that whole play, Kokaniemi, he, from what I was seeing on the camera and everything, it looked like that puck was destined to hit the post. So Jackson Blake getting the stick in there and getting that tip, good deflection, good job, kid. That helps out a whole lot. After that, Carolina started to take over the game, became much more aggressive, forechecking the offensive zone, possessing the puck a lot more, and Jack Roslovic scores from Seth Jarvis and Sean Walker. So multi-point game for Sean Walker, who I think he's come a really long way lately. And then lastly, Jack Roslovic, after hitting the post like it was fucking warm-up, puts it away for the empty netter, and that is the end of that game. Carolina evens the season series with New Jersey, and here's what's funny about it. Every single game in this series, 4-2 Carolina the first game, 4-2 New Jersey the second game, 4-2 New Jersey last night, Carolina 5-2 with an empty netter, so effectively 4-2 last night. That's how close these teams are. That's how much of a dogfight you can imagine it would be in the playoffs, considering that I think Carolina will make some sort of move in advance of the trade deadline. I can see New Jersey doing the same thing. If we play these guys in the playoffs, we are not going to bitch them in 5 games like we did last time. That's not fucking happening. A fully healthy New Jersey Devils and a fully healthy Carolina Hurricanes series would go to 7 games, probably with multiple overtimes. It would not be anything like last time. It would be significantly harder to win. We would really earn that one. Overall final numbers, Carolina or shots in the first period were 10 New Jersey, 16 Carolina. Second period, 7 New Jersey, 12 Carolina in the second. Third period, 6 New Jersey, 13 Carolina. And Carolina, the shots on goal actually really reflect how well Carolina started to take over that game. They got a lot of energy off of that late goal by Dmitry Orlov in the second period. Overall shots on goal total, 23 for New Jersey, 41 for Carolina. Face-off percentage, Carolina dominated in the circle tonight, and that was something I talked about on Landfall Hour last night. If there's a way that you can start to get New Jersey off their game is dictating more of the puck possession right after the face-off. So win face-offs, hold on to it, make smart plays with it regardless of what zone you're in. That was one thing that really helped them out tonight. Carolina was 1 for 4 on the power play, New Jersey 0 for 2. Penalty minutes, New Jersey had 21, Carolina had 8. Hits, 41 apiece. Blocked shots, New Jersey blocked 13 shots, Carolina blocked 11, which that's really good considering New Jersey only managed to get 23 shots on goal anyway. Giveaways 14 and 12, takeaways 4 and 3. So I don't really put a whole lot of regard into giveaways and takeaways because they're recorded in a rather loose manner. Let's see. There was one other thing I wanted to consult in here. So other notes that I have here, Carolina did a really, really good job not allowing New Jersey to stay in the offensive zone for very long. They were very good about defending, making pretty smart zone exits and getting up ice quickly. They didn't do it as quickly as I would like to, and they're still having trouble when they get to the offensive blue line. There's still not enough there as far as clean entries go. But as far as beating a team like New Jersey, one of the things that you need to do is not let them stay in their offensive zone for very long, because as we saw, especially last night, they don't have to be there for very long to hurt you, especially if their top six is out there like Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, Timo Meier, guys like that. They don't need a whole lot of time in the offensive zone to make something happen. They can be really below average as far as how much time they spend in the offensive zone, but those guys are very dynamic in terms of creating chances and putting shots on net, and high-quality ones at that. So Carolina did a pretty good job at that. That's part of the reason why New Jersey was limited to 2 goals tonight, is because Carolina didn't allow them to be there for very long. Cleaning up the net front, that could have been a little bit better, but ultimately they did enough to get it done. The only goal being the second one that, the second one that Andre Palat scored, where they kind of faltered on their zone defense, in my opinion. Tokarski did what he needed to do when called upon. So definitely a good game to build off of going into the future, because if you can win in Columbus after you had what was one of the worst, one of the roughest games of the season against them, when Kochekov got hurt and everything, win that one, and then you can really get some demons out of your system if you go to Florida and win after how bad that back-to-back was. So you can start really getting things going in the right direction. This win is a great thing to build off of tonight. So if there are no other questions or comments or anything like that, I think I'm going to call it a night, because I have to get ready to start packing to go on a cruise ship, because the last time I was on a ship, it had a bunch of missiles and guns on it, and honestly, it wasn't very fun. I mean, I had days where it was enjoyable, but for the most part, it wasn't a whole lot of fun. We'll see if anybody says anything, and then I think I will call it a night. Dog over there has already called it a night. BTS says, have a good vacation. Are you still going to be on X or not? Periodically, I think I will, but for the most part, I think I'm going to log out of it and just kind of take a break from it. It's like, I enjoy doing the streaming and the shows and everything like that. It's more so like just every once in a while I need a break from it. One of the things that makes it, I would love to be able to do landfall hour and damage report for every single game. And one of the things that makes it difficult for me is I already sit behind a computer at work all day. So sometimes when I come home, I don't want to do that. Like I really like playing video games too, right? Like I play like racing games, flight simulators. I've got like one of my favorite things lately is I've been playing the Star Wars Battlefront from 2005, which is one of my favorite games when I was a kid. But I come home and a lot of days I just don't want to deal with anything on the computer. So I like forego doing stuff like that. What I'm planning on doing to make it easier next season, or I may try to do it for the rest of this season if I can get it done during the Four Nations break, I'm going to try and put the slides together for each individual team. So that way I just have to pull it up, input the data. Hopefully I can get somebody to write me some scripts or do a VLOOKUP thing or something like that. So basically I can just put all that together, consult my notes, and get a show out every single game, or not every single game, but every single one that I can. And then on days where I can't do the show, I'm going to probably see if my buddy AB that I'm on Caniac sessions with can do it for me, and he'll do a good job. Or Samuel Wallace, who's in the comments now, he could also do it for me. Maybe if he wants to. What's up, Brandon? Canes needed the physical play tonight. Yes, I was really happy that they matched New Jersey's physicality. When Carolina plays that way, you can't beat them. Or you can, but it will be incredibly hard. So, identity game. I was really happy with how they played tonight. They are not officially back until they win the next 2. If they beat Florida, my hope in this organization and this team skyrockets. And I've never totally lost hope in them, never totally lost hope in Rod. I'm just saying that certain adjustments needed to be made, or come the offseason, we have to think, is this the right guy to take us to the next step when we're supposed to have the really good team next season, and we're going to be spending a ton of money, hopefully in free agency, to make the team better. But people took that as me saying fire him, which is not what the fuck I did. BTS says completely different team from yesterday. Yeah, and I think it helps the fact that you had it also helps the fact that you had, they were back in front of the home crowd. And then also, not to mention, I believe, let's see here. I believe they're not going to be home again for a couple of weeks. Let's see here. Let me look at the schedule. Pretty sure they're not going to be here for a while. Okay. Let's see. 31st in Columbus. 2nd in Florida. That's the game I'm going to be at. Okay, so they'll be back on the 4th. Oh, they actually got a decent amount of home games this month. Okay. January is a good time to make some hay. All right, we'll talk about this real quick before I call it a night. So in January, you have a really, really good schedule here. So after you come back from Florida, you got Minnesota on Saturday. That'll be kind of a hard game to win. And then you turn around and you play the Penguins 23 hours later, totally winnable game. And then initially there was going to be a 3-day break in there, but the game that was rescheduled in Tampa, that was kind of a blessing in disguise, if you ask me. I mean, I would rather the hurricane have not happened and the damage not happened to, those poor people in Florida and everything. But considering how opening night went, not jumping on a plane immediately and going to Tampa might have been a blessing in disguise for the Canes. So let's see if they can, solve the Kucherov problem on the 7th. And then you have 3 more home games in a row: Toronto, Vancouver, and Anaheim. The Anaheim one, that's the night that Eric Stahl's sweater is retired. I'm going to try my best to be there. That should be 3 games that you should take 2 of right there. But in Buffalo on the 15th, don't lose to the Buffalo Sabres. No, please don't. Vegas on the 17th at home, should be able to win that one. Hawks and Stars. Hawks, you should beat them, but they're a good enough team to where they can be problematic and they do win games. Dallas, we beat them last time, but it's really hard to beat them in their barn. They're a lot like Carolina is. They have a really, really good defensive or team that's really, really good on the defensive side of the puck, but they also have guys who can score, i.e. Jason Robertson, one of my favorite non-Hurricanes. Then you got Columbus at home on the 23rd, winnable. 25th against the Islanders on Long Island. I don't want to upset that crowd. Should be able to win that one, and you need to win that one considering how poorly the last game on Long Island went. Then you got the Rangers on the 28th. It'll be 2025 at that point. You should be able to beat the Rangers with how far they've fallen. Then you got the Blackhawks on the 30th. January, let's see. So accounting for the Florida game as well, you have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 games. So that's a possible 30 points in January. I don't see any reason why you don't come out of this month with at least 22, maybe 24 points if they keep playing like they did tonight. I think the biggest thing that's helping them, though, is the fact that Rod is finally leaving the damn lines alone. All right, let me get to some more of the comments from here. Pat the Ref, what's up, buddy? Got 2 in a few weeks at home. Yeah. Are we still getting boom after the KHL season? All signs point to that happening, as far as I know. Samuel Wallace says, I honestly thought the Holla hit was more deserving of a match penalty than the Meyer hit. Yeah, that's actually something that I talked about earlier in the show. I was like, the Meyer one, there's some gray area there about, did he mean to lead with the knee, the elbow? He kind of chicken winged with the elbow, which would have been another part of the discussion had the knee not been a factor. Honestly, I can understand why people are like, oh, maybe that wasn't the right call. Maybe that shouldn't have been a penalty at all. But the Holla thing, not being a penalty, that doesn't make any sense to me. The Holla thing was way worse than the Meyer one. You're absolutely right about that. Coconut Kyle says staying healthy also too. Yes, staying healthy will be really, really important, especially this year with as jam-packed as the schedule is because of the Four Nations tournament. One of the other things to consider, let's say I'm curious to see how Carolina plays throughout January and the couple of games that they'll have in February. And then I want to see how they come back rested after that 2 weeks. I know Aho, Jarvis, and Slavin will be playing. Aho and Slavin are going to be probably pulling some serious minutes. Jarvis is probably going to be on the 4th line and killing penalties. I don't think he's going to pull more than 10, 11 minutes a night in the Four Nations tournament. But one thing to consider with that is if this team comes back and they play significantly better for a while and then they start to fall off, that kind of leads to what I was saying about with the system being maybe a little bit overly arduous. And that's what's kind of maybe hurting the team in the long run. Maybe they're a little bit gassed before the playoffs. And that's another thing that you can look at adjusting to be able to give the team some longevity when they get to the postseason. I think that maybe could help. So, that's one thing to consider, that, maybe that's another flaw in the system that needs to be addressed, is if they're playing awful. They get a couple of weeks off. They come back and then play well. That's something to talk about. But historically, after breaks, Carolina typically doesn't do well. So it might be the opposite. The Rangers are now officially last in the Metro. Let's go. All righty. Open the champagne. They stink. Yeah, and they picked a good year to do it, because if the Rangers were good this year, we might be sitting in wild card 1 or 2 right now. And considering how good the Atlantic Division is turning out to be this year, Ottawa's making a push and everything like that, it could be problematic. Smith played well for his first NHL game in a while. Yes, and it was cool to see him on Power Play 1, because I'm like, wow, they literally just said, go out there and be Gostisbehere to the best of your abilities, and that's what they did. And that's another thing that I'm waiting to see what the news is about, because I'm hoping Ghost's injury isn't too serious. I imagine it's not, considering he played last night, so we'll see. I'm hoping that our leading point getter among defensemen is not messed up too badly, because we kind of really need him. He's been very impactful for this team and everything like that. But Travis, what's up, dude? Hey, buddy, been a while. Hope you had a great Christmas. I did have a great Christmas, pal. I hope you did too. All right, everyone. That's going to be it for me tonight. I will try to post some things, or maybe do some short videos or something like that. I'll be on Caniac Sessions tomorrow night. You might see me post a little something tomorrow as well. But next time I plan on doing a stream of any kind will probably be January 7th before the Tampa game. If not that one, then I'll probably start doing them after that. Y'all take care. It's been a good game. They can build on this. We'll be fine. I will see you next time.